Hello everyone, and welcome to my Pecha Kucha. This presentation is going to be on Edward Albee's play, Three Tall Women. I found this play very interesting to read, and I think you all will too. I really hope you find my presentation fascinating and really learn something. With that being said, let's get into it. The three main characters are different manifestations of the same person at different points in their life. A is in her 90s, and she acts very old. She can't sit by herself and has trouble remembering some things. She is very bossy, autocratic, and proud. She likes expensive things. B looks how A would look at 52. She takes care of A and plays along with most of the trouble A causes. B is rather cynical and dresses plainly. C looks how B might have at 26. She starts the play as a visitor from a law firm, but by the second act is clearly the younger version of B. She is very confident in her ideas and does not like to play along with A's shenanigans. The boy is A's son, who left home after a fight with A about his sexuality. He reconnected with A after a while apart, but things never returned to normal. He is only a side character who visits A after her stroke. Albee mostly uses realism in the play. In the first act, the conversations all relate and are clearly in chronological order. The play takes place in a real house with normal people just living their lives. During the second act, he changes this a little. He uses a mannequin in A's bed to represent her after she had a stroke. This allows for the audience to see the son while A, B, and C are talking. He also allows for conversations about C's future to take place in front of her. In performance, the first act would seem very day in the life and raw. The audience would be able to really feel like they are observing someone's real life, possibly making them empathize more with the characters. The second act is slightly less real, and might make the audience reflect more on what is actually being said, especially at the end, when each woman has their monologue about life directed straight out at the audience. One reading, the reader would be able to clearly picture the people and setting, as a room and three women are things almost everyone is familiar with. The slightly avant-garde use of A, B, and C instead of names may cause the reader some confusion keeping track of the characters. When the A mannequin and A are on stage at the same time, it may cause a bit of confusion to picture two of the same people on stage at once. The play takes place in one room over around a day. There is a time jump to the second act for the son to travel. The room is a typical rich grandma room with expensive furniture and French paintings. There is a bed with very nice sheets and lacy pillows, as well as some armchairs, all covered in fine cloth. The most prevalent color found in the room is pastel blue. During the second act, medical equipment is added, as well as the mannequin of A in A's bed. The play takes place with A, B, and C in A's bedroom. A has the majority of the lines and makes B and C listen to many stories of her past, some of which she has already forgotten the ending of. B helps her do tasks like walk and bathroom, while C tries to accomplish tasks for her law firm. C is often interrupted by and does not agree with many of the things A says, thinking they are offensive. The first act ends with A having a stroke. For Act 2, A, B, and C all more clearly become the same person at different stages. A's body is shown with a mannequin in her bed while the actor walks around, and even comments on her own unconscious self. The women tell the audience and each other more about their past and their love lives. This makes C curious because she is hearing about her future relationship. However, she is not pleased with how unhappy it sounds. During this act, the son enters and sits by the bed with the fake A. This makes A, B, and C talk about their relationship with their son, which was not good. He left home at 18 because he was gay and his mother did not approve. They reconciled eventually, but things were never the same. He leaves towards the end, and afterwards A, B, and C discuss what the happiest point in a life is. C, being young, thinks it is ahead of her. B, who's in the middle, thinks she's in it. And A, at the end, thinks all she has left is the end of her life. Although Albee was adopted, he and his adoptive parents had a bad relationship. A reason for this is the different mindsets they had. An example he often gives is that he loved to read, and although they had a huge library, Albee wasn't supposed to read the books because it made the shelves look messy. This is fascinating to me because it brings up the nature versus nurture question and gives a clear example of when the nature of the individual is more important than how they were raised. Another interesting fact about Edward Albee is that, although he was a genius writer, he was actually expelled from 2 different schools for things like skipping the classes. Albee was not stupid, but did not feel that the classes helped him learn. This made me really curious about how his school, and schools in general, deal with people who learn differently from most of their peers. A third fact is that Albee was openly homosexual. This caused problems with his adoptive parents and even caused him to leave home early, very similar to the son character in the play. He later explained that this was intentional, as the lady in the play was supposed to represent his adoptive mother. It turned out that the fact that this play was autobiographical may have been the reason it did so well and elevated him to fame. The first production opened in 1991 in Austria at the English Theatre, directed by Albee himself. The next notable production was in 1994 in America, at the off-Broadway theater The Vineyard Theatre, and moved to the Promenade Theatre later that year. It was produced in UK at the West End in late fall of the same year, and the next year, a version was translated into Spanish and produced in Madrid titled Tres Mujeres Altas, Three Tall Women in Spanish. Finally, it made its way to Broadway in 2018, premiering at the Golden Theatre. The biggest challenge I faced when reading Three Tall Women was keeping the characters straight in my head. The script never mentions their names, instead labeling them A, B, and C. This made it hard for me to remember which character was which age in the beginning, and I often had to flip back to the character analysis. The flipping back and forth made it difficult for me to be immersed in the play, leading to a lot of changing my sitting position. I noticed that I would often switch positions when I had to go back and check the descriptions. Mentally, this play had very little impact because of the lack of immersion. I couldn't get attached to the characters or look for a deeper theme while I was super focused on which character said which line. After thinking about the play for a while, I decided that the mental impact it had was confusion. Because I have not lived long enough to experience the theme, I had trouble relating to it. If I read the play again in a few decades, I might appreciate it more. One of the more common ideographs for this play is an old lady wearing a broken pearl necklace. This symbolizes A's broken arm, as well as the broken relationships with her husband and son as she aged. If the lady was younger, the necklace would not be broken yet. There are 3 beads falling because of the 3 points in her life we see highlighted. A also loved expensive things like a pearl necklace. Another one is an image of 3 ladies with their outfits all scrambled. This is to represent their opinions changing and becoming muddled over time. It also hints that they are all the same person. I found this one a bit confusing because I couldn't figure out which one was supposed to represent A, B, and C. I later realized that this may have been intentional as they are not different people, but the same person at different stages. This one depicts 3 roses, one a bud, one in the normal rose shape, and one in full bloom but broken. This represents C, B, and A's lives and how they act and relate to each other. I like this one the most because of how perfectly it fits. While C is still a bud at the beginning, A is in full bloom, having passed her prime and almost completely broken or dead. This would also be easy to incorporate into the set by having a vase of the 3 roses. Personally, I did not like this play. I enjoy reading and watching the fantasy and sci-fi genre because it has lots of adventures and things that would never happen in everyday life. This play was basically the exact opposite. It is very down-to-earth and relatable and tries to capture a real valuable moment in life. While I see why this appeals to many people, I personally do not find it that interesting. Another play I read by Albie was The Zoo Story, and after reading both plays, an interesting connection I found between them was that they both focus on connections between people. In The Zoo Story, it was a socially awkward character trying to learn from animals. In 3 Tall Women, it was how people of different ages and opinions treat each other. This led me to think that knowing how people interact with each other was very important to Albie and something he wanted to show the world.